All right, hello again, and welcome to another episode of Voices for a New Humanity. We are talking to all kinds of different people about new humanity, which can mean all kinds of different things and does mean different things to all kinds of different people. And so we open up to explore. And for me, what I feel like what's happening right now as we're coming through this pandemic time on the planet is there's a wobble in the structures and the old ways of being. And I felt for a long time that there's a new consciousness coming, a new humanity coming. And I feel like that's what we're right in the birthing of. And so today my guest is my friend Kim Lansdowne-Walker from Australia. And Kim is a divine feminine shaman, and her business is Platinum Alchemy. And we're going to be talking today, well, who knows what we're going to be talking about today, because we're just in conversation. We've been in conversation for half hour or so, just talking about all kinds of things. But our intention is really in these conversations is to have you as the audience just relate to something. So you go, new humanity, what does that even mean? And so we're just talking about really what it means, how it's showing up, how it's different. So Kim, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to see you and to have you here. Kim and I met a few years ago at a program, so it's really been fun to reconnect again this way. So welcome.
Thanks, Eliza. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to our little chat.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, you and I connected a few years ago, and I've always been really intrigued by where you play. And a couple of weeks ago or so, you had, or maybe not even that long, you made a post and you were talking about, not that we have to talk about the post at all, but you were talking about this new way of being and how could it be together. And I wrote down this one sentence, and it was something about maybe we can create or co-create or reveal or be something sustainable model to create a peaceful, conscious planet. And I loved that so much, because that is so not what we're experiencing right now on this planet. So you want to just start by saying a little bit about what that even means to you?
Yeah. Well, for me, it means basically people are becoming more aware and waking up, and that would be the first step. Like people have to get to a level they have a desire to actually understand the information on what's behind the scenes or what's been running behind the scenes. And I think last month we actually, in my Platinum Alchemy system of work that I work with, I call it Earth Spirit. So over in April, we had this awakening. So maybe you will relate to the fact that we actually went into the energy or the COVID or the information a lot deeper within ourselves, and we're able to actually see things and even see ourselves at a deeper level for who we were, how we are, what we are in the world, and whatever we're actually currently doing. So that's the first thing I see that needs to be shared, or a way of sharing that, so this can actually happen on a collective or mass consciousness level. But the other thing which is really important at the moment is about, I know there are communities out there that are actually sustainable communities. People are actually, creating sustainable buildings, eco buildings, but they're in communities and they're kind of isolated. So my thought around this when I made that post was about, what if we could actually create a community within our current communities and work with what we already have in our current communities and transform that. So that would actually look like people getting together, having a similar feeling through heart and mind and soul, and wanting to create the change and using the resources that we actually have already. So, we have electricians, we've got plumbers, we've got architects, we've got builders, we've got all these people that actually build from the foundation up and design. And then we've got other people who are caregivers and so forth. So we need everybody, and teachers, we need everybody in our community to start to participate on a level. So I guess I would see that as people meeting, but at the moment we're not allowed to meet. So
right.
whether that was an online kind of, yeah, whether that was an online situation where people gathered in groups. But I know even in my community, when all of this lockdown started, in my letterbox, I received a little note from somebody who had taken the time and the love and the care to drop this little note. There's actually a group of people already in my local neighbourhood who want to help and support local people. And they've taken the initiative to actually look after certain streets in my neighbourhood. So if I want something, or if I can't get to the shops or something like that, I can call this number. They've left their number and their contact details and what they can help me with. If I need something, I can call them and they're going to be here to help. Now, that just so warmed my heart. I was just like, this is so beautiful. And they were asking other people if they wanted to participate in that as well. So just simple things like that.
Yeah, we saw that kind of thing, I think, all over the globe. People were talking about different neighborhoods coming together, and it was so organic. It came from people helping people. It came from connection. In a way that we don't know live right now, or haven't lived recently.
Yeah, because currently a lot of us actually do a lot of work online, or we go to offices, or we go to our individual workplace and we spend long hours, and we don't necessarily work with people that we actually are aligned with. Mm-hmm. We just do it because we've got to make ends meet and we've got bills to pay. And then we spend our time off maybe cleaning, housework, or doing the absolute essentials to get us through to the next week. So we've all had this situation where we're being forced to do things we don't really want to do. Now, in the community situation, like, people were able to come forward and this is what I want to do. This is heart-based. So this is the difference between having to do something and doing it because you really want to do it. And not everyone has the same ability to give on different levels. Like, if we are allowed to work with our passion and honour our passion, our birthright, our gifts, and everybody has unique gifts. Doesn't matter who you are. You know, you can be homeless and still have unique gifts. It's about people, it's about equality and people being treated as such, and everybody being treated as equal. And that's the energy I feel like that is, people are ready to maybe start to see that a bit more and start to break down these barriers. Yeah,
it feels to me that because we're in this sort of pause, you know, that we've all had to get off that treadmill of go, push, survive, you know, get lost in Facebook or TV or whatever. I mean, there's probably still plenty of that going on, a little bit even at my house, but that whole push, like we're being able to take this collective breath, and it feels like our priorities, I'm hoping, will shift to be more about being in our passion, to be more about a spaciousness and a kindness and a generosity of spirit, like you see in the neighborhoods, supporting the neighborhoods. We were a little bit too, before we hit the record, about old ways of being in business and old ways of marketing versus new ways, and kind of didn't quite touch on masculine versus feminine, but the whole like new way of being.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, without that push.
Yeah, it's like it's about, we're learning to find our balance between our masculine and our feminine. So, you know, you can have women who are really masculine in their approach to doing things, or you can have men that are really feminine in their approach. And it doesn't, what's important is that we find some balance within ourselves. And that's where this whole time of having time out is allowing us to see where we may be out of balance. You know, what's the shadow part of ourselves and what's the enlightened part of ourselves, and loving all aspects of ourselves. So it comes back down to accepting who we are first, and honoring ourselves as individuals. And once we can do that, once we can love ourselves non-conditionally, then we can share that love with other people, and that's where equality will start to come forward. But yeah, it's very much talking about the conversation is really important, that people actually can get their voices heard, or are prepared to listen, because it's, I think, something I mentioned the other day, it's one of those passages in the Bible, the weak or the meek will inherit the earth. And it's almost as that this is that time where the energy is so, it's like a volcano, it's ready to burst. You know, people are ready, they've got this wisdom inside themselves, so many people, but they haven't had the opportunity to actually share or speak or say what they need to say. So there's this feeling of frustration that is within, and it's once people can actually become a little bit more patient, and maybe platforms like you've created here, which are just beautiful, that people actually can share their wisdom, share their light in many, many ways, and be heard, because there's so many times, or over so many people's lifetimes, they haven't been heard, and to be heard is very empowering.
It is, and to be acknowledged. And you know, I think about some of these innovations that are coming from young kids or young adults, and I think about some of the innovations and the creations, and it feels like there's going to be a level of community, not only in local communities, but like this global, where people are going to be sharing ideas and sharing those, you know, as things are developed in new ways of being. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like, and it might not happen tomorrow, but it feels like this whole resurgence. But
well,
yeah,
I feel like it's a growth thing. Like I think this is probably going to take us 200 years, maybe 100 years, to get to a level of what we're probably talking about, or dreaming or wishing at this point. But it's like, if we don't talk about these things and start to share our ideas or our feelings or our beliefs about what the world could look like, you know, the world is made up of dreams. We are, you know, we have to hold on to our dreams, and we, you know, if we can actually start to make some kind of step, even if it's just in our own world, in our own home, in our own space, it's going to make all the difference. It's like change ourselves and the rest of the world changes. So if everyone can start to see that, like I have a big thing about teaching people to meditate, to go within and look within themselves, because so many people get easily distracted, and I think the internet has offered that as well, because there's obviously a new idea, something new, and the social media, the way we actually scroll through things, it's like scrolling, and Instagram, it's like there's no time for people to stop. I mean, there's some positive aspects of that, because it helps us connect with our intuition, so we kind of connect to what grabs our attention, but that's on a like a minimal scale. But it also is distracting to our brain and our groundedness, so it prevents us from actually being in our body, because we just spend too much time in our head. And as you know, being embodied is so very important, and being connected to the Earth Mother is so important, and that's where we get all our information, when we are deeply grounded and connected to the Earth Mother.
Yeah, and that feels like a really beautiful place to maybe wrap up our conversation. But even as the earth is changing, and even as the earth is taking this breath, and even as we're hopefully deep listening to our own selves, and that impulse that is within us, that is, I think, and I hope, and I call forth a greater awareness, a greater spaciousness, a greater kindness, a greater compassion for ourselves and for all of humanity. So in a final sentence.
Yeah, that's it. It's like giving to ourselves and then sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And doesn't that just feel so sweet and powerful?
Yeah, like nothing feels better than slowing down and reconnecting to the Earth Mother. I mean, that's one of the basic principles in shamanic wisdom, is about connecting. You know, the shamanic process works with all dimensions and very much with the earth. Without the earth, you can't work with shamanic practices at all, because the Earth Mother is our mother, and she's the one that we connect with when we really are ready to heal.
Yeah.
And I think as a being in nature, whether it's just barefoot on nature, sitting on the ground or whatever, just I think people, that's really supports that slowing down, that groundedness, really, really absolute essential.
And we know that this slowing down is supporting our...
Essential that we do it every day.
Oh, yes.
That's what's really important.
Yes. Yes. And so with our hearts wide open and the intention of...
Yeah, I can't go to the extreme of...
Yeah, we're getting a little bit wobbly here between us. I think a little bit, my internet might be a little bit wobbly, but I am so grateful to you, Kim. I'm so happy to be connected with you in this way. And if you want to know more about Kim, her divine feminine shamanism and her platinum alchemy, there'll be links to her in the description of this video. So thank you so much. And here's to a whole new way of being, which is slow and rich and deep and connected. We'll see you all again real soon. Bye, Kim. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Eliza. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.